So on your mobile device, you're going to sign into ArcGIS Collector, and you're going to see a list of your maps. And these are all of the maps that are in your content page on ArcGIS Online under your account. If you may need to refresh this page though. So in order to do that, you just swipe down and then you let go, and it's going to refresh that page. So you can either type in here in the search bar for the map that you need to load, or you can scroll down the page until you find it. Okay, so we have our map here. Now remember how we set up two versions of our web map? We have our normal map and we have our... Remember how we made our two versions of our Paramount Ranch web map? We've got our regular version for online use and we've got our offline use map. And so for the offline map, you're going to check out this one, and you don't need to open it just yet, but you tap on the three dots here and you're going to add an offline area, and that's how you download it to your device. And this is important because a lot of field sites that you go to, there will not be mobile data because there won't be cell phone service, or the cell phone service will be a little bit patchy. So we need to tap on add offline area, and it's going to open up a little pop-up screen here that's going to take you to the general area where that web map is. Now we've got to set two things here. We need to think about the map boundary or the map extent of the study area, and we have to think about the level of detail. When you see that black rectangle on this pop-up window, that means when you download this to your device, nothing outside of that box will be visible, and you will not be able to collect data anywhere outside of that box. So it's very important that you set that map extent or the map boundary to contain all possible places that you might need to be collecting data. Now it is possible to add multiple offline areas for a web map in Collector. So in case you set an offline area and you need to go back, you can actually add more than one. You can do that in the newer version of Collector. The other thing we've got to look at is the level of detail. And so the map extent and the level of detail, these things are connected. And so you notice how I can zoom in and I can zoom out, but I cannot make that map area large on its own. The only way to make the map boundary larger is to change the level of detail. And you can see that if I go from the smallest level of detail is room, if let's just go up to neighborhood, and then that is going, if I zoom out, then I now see that the map boundary is a large portion of Southern California. So what this means in Collector is the map boundary and the level of detail are linked, in that if I downloaded this area, it would download all zoom levels down to the level of detail of neighborhood to my mobile device for that entire study area. And so we have to consider two things. One is what information do you actually need? Do you need that entire study area? And the second one is your memory and your storage available on your mobile device. The larger area you download and the more detail that you download, it's going to be a larger download to store onto your device. So we're going to change this to building, level of detail building. And we can still see that it's a fairly large study area. And if we're just going to be in Paramount Ranch National Park Service site, we can make that level of detail, pretty fine-grained level of detail. And what that means is when you're offline, you'll be able to keep zooming in to this field site on your map, and it will keep kind of readjusting and keep reloading as you keep zooming in. So we can keep adding it even smaller, and we see that this is here. Now we notice that once we get to the level of detail room, the map boundary might be a little bit too small here, because we don't know just yet where all we're going to be. We know that this is the general area of Paramount Ranch, but if you haven't been here, we need to make sure that we're going to have enough area. So we're going to bring this up to rooms level, and you see how the map boundary jumps out quite a bit. And so at this point, you're going to center Paramount Ranch in the middle of that map, right? So here's our site, Paramount Ranch. Just make sure that is right in the middle of it. And that looks good. So we're going to click or tap on download area. And then you just wait for that to download. Once you get that all downloaded, you can see that that was the download size. In this case, it was about 67 megabytes. And then you can tap on this and it will open up. And if you go back to your main map page, now that you have, once you have downloaded that offline map, it is just permanently offline for that version of the map. And so even if you are connected to Wi-Fi, as you can see, I am now, like, look on my device, I have a Wi-Fi connection here. But even though it's connected to Wi-Fi, because once you have downloaded an offline area, it will kind of always treat it as if it's offline. So you'll see that there's nothing outside of that map boundary. And so if I'm outside of that map boundary, it will not be able to enter any data. But once you've got this, you're now ready to go. As long as your device is charged up, you're ready to start using it in an offline data collection mode. The last thing is to see that map detail at work. So what it means when you have map detail is how far in can you zoom in that map and see new details given. So one thing about web maps or online maps is that when you zoom in and out, it's actually loading an entirely new map each time, because different map tiles or different zoom levels are going to show you different kinds of things on the map. So at this one, if I pinch it and zoom in or zoom out, it's going to load new maps each time, right? When I reach a new zoom level, right? And so you see those buildings now showed up, but if I zoom out, they disappear. Okay. And so in this case, we set a zoom level of rooms. And so this is as far in as it will zoom into. And you can see we didn't set it at that smallest zoom level. And so that's why those words are not reloading at a more finely detailed way, is because we didn't load the smallest zoom level. But all of those zoom levels out of that, each zoom level will load, and it will keep zooming out even though our map boundary makes the map pretty small. It loads the most zoomed out level, right? Kind of a global view of your map will be loaded all the way until the smallest level of detail that you have chosen to download.